Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello, my name is Kofi, also known as Old Kof or Teacher Kofi. Welcome to Piano Time. In this video, we'll continue with our discussion on the extensive use of the 1-4-5 progression or chords. We'll also look at terms such as broken chords, arpeggios, bass and chords, triads, etc. So stay tuned. Now, back to the instrument. Let's consider key C with our left hand. We want to look at the term broken chord. A broken chord is simply a chord whose notes are played at different times. So if we consider the C triad, which is made up of C, E, and G, this chord right here, we can decide to play the individual notes contained therein at separate times, this way. And this is what defines a broken chord. Realize that in the first instance, I played all the notes together, this way. But in the second instance, I spelled the notes this way. Good. There are situations where you can also play two notes first and then follow it up with a note. So two notes and then follow it up with a note. Now you can try all the permutations. It can be C, G first and then follow it up with E, this way or this way. Good. And there are situations where you can play a note and then follow it up with the rest of the two notes. So you can play a note this way and then follow it up with the rest of the two notes contained in the chord or this way. Good. All these are broken chords. There are situations where you can also play them in the inverted approach or inverted format. So you don't always have to stay at the root position. So you can play it this way too, which is made up of E, G, and C. Good. And you can also play them in the second inversion approach. So this is the first inversion and then this is the second inversion. There are times where you hear in lots of music or genres stuff like this. And this is what is termed as broken chords. Now, you can also play them over the rest of the octaves. So you don't always have to stay within an octave. You can spread them this way. Now, let me take that slowly. Now, the fingers I used are 5, 3, and then 1. And then when you go to the first inversion, you still maintain the 1, 3, 5, and then still the same for the second inversion. And then you repeat. That's all. So this the same thing on different octaves. Good. Now let me try that with my right hand also. Now on right, I'm going to maintain 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then when I invert to the first inversion approach, I'll go for 1, 2, and then 4. And then I'll still maintain 1, 2, 4 for the second inversion. 1, 2, 4. And then you just repeat. So let me take it once more. So this is what defines a broken chord. Now, let's look at another term known as the repeated notes or chords. Repeated notes or chords are simply notes or chords played repeatedly in a particular pattern in an ascending form or a descending form. So let me just demonstrate that. Now I can pick, let me pick these 3 notes, which is Do, Re, Mi, okay? And then I can decide to, I'm using my left hand. Now I can play this Do, Re, Mi in this pattern. So I'm playing a repeated pattern. I move ascending and then descending at the same time. Now it can also be 2 notes or chord notes or harmonies played in a repeated mode. So it has to be a pattern like this. Now let me take that slowly. I'm playing C and E and then I followed it up with D and F and then to E and G and then back to D and F and then C and E. So that's what I'm doing. And then the fingers are 5, 3, then to 4, 2, 3, 3, 1, back to 4, 2, and then. So this is repeated chord. Now it can even be a chord and then a note. So this, or repeated notes and chords are very useful. Or I can play. So all these define repeated notes or chords. Now let's move to another term known as bass and chords. Now it's this same triad known as the C triad, a situation where I drop the root note and then play it on my left hand. So let me play the triad on my right hand this way, and then drop the root note, which is C, on my left hand at a very far end of the keyboard towards my left direction. I realize that I get the bass sound, isn't it? So there are situations or songs that contain this kind of approach. You play the bass on your left, and then you play the chord on your right. Now, if you go to the 4 chord is made up of what? C, F, A, or F, A, C. So the root note is F. So you can play the F on your left hand, and then the same thing happens with the G chord or the 5 chord, which is G, and then back to the 1 chord. So you can play it this way, or whichever permutations that you decide to go. Now this format, you realize that the chord or the whole song or the whole play becomes very heavy. Good. So this is another format where people use. Sometimes the bass and chords are played this way. The bass first plays, and then the right responds with the chord. Now let me play it slowly. This way. And then back. Please, you can use any progression you want. On my left, I used finger 5 for the 1 chord, finger 2 for the 4 chord, and then finger 1 for the 5 chord. You already know for the right hand. Good. So, in a Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star song, you can just play this way. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So, which is very heavy. Now, there are situations where you can play the chords in both hands. That is when you have a supporting bass guitarist. So, let's listen to how that goes. Now, you realize that the sound is different from the bass and the chord. Good. And in reggae songs and some kind of music or genres of music, you hear them play both hands with chords to give the music a different perspective. So let me choose another tone. Like in reggae song, you hear stuff like this. So let me just do that slowly. So you strike the left first, and then you follow it up with the right. That's the first party. So if you can do this, then you repeat it. Slowly first. Then you change to 4, then you change to 5. Please don't follow this particular progression. You can use any progression you want. You can even go from 1 to 4, and then back to 1, and then to 5. Good. Now, when you perfect it, of course, you can speed it up. Now, there are styles of reggae music where you don't hear the chops this way. You hear? They swing it a bit. So please pay attention and then demonstrate that or practice that on the rest of the keys. Now, there's another term also known as stride. Stride, a situation where the left hand plays a lot. The left hand plays a bass note, yeah, and then follow it up with a chord, still with the left hand. So you hear stuff like this. And then back to 1. Now let me do that slowly. So I play the root note as a bass, which is this C, and then play the chord towards my right direction. Okay, so this way in the root position, and then I move to the 4 chord and then do the same thing. I'm using the root position. Well, you can use the other inversions, so you can even play this and play that. Okay, and then to G, to the 5 chord, and then. Now let me give you the fingers. On the bass, I just use finger 5, and then obviously my root position is made up of 5, 3, and then 1. And then the 4 chord, I still maintain the 5 on my left for the bass, and then depending on the inversion that you want to use, if you are using the root position, you still maintain 5, 3, 1, which is this. But if you are inverting it, you can still use 5, 3, and 1, or whichever that works for you. There are people who use 4, 2, and then 1 this way. So they play this way. And then when you go to the 5, I still maintain the 5 on my bass. And then you can use the 4, 2, 1, or any approach that works for you. I'm going for 3, 5, 1. Good. So we can try the Twinkle Twinkle. I know it's a very difficult thing, but then you have to take it gradually. So please, slow it down. You can slow it down this way, and then once you perfect it, and you can speed the tempo, okay? And please try that on the rest of the keys. So it's a challenge, isn't it? Good. Now, let's consider Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars in the stride approach, which is this way. Let me take it slowly. So, I know it's a challenge, but if you take it slowly, you'll be able to play it. Realize that I'm mixing the inversions. You can do so. Good. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. Please do well to go through all the keys with this new set of skills that you've acquired. Let's keep on working. Practice at least 30 minutes or an hour a day, and I'm sure you become a very good pianist. This is where we draw the curtain. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment. Enjoy.